Hi everyone, let us begin the session with the two-pass assembler. In the previous session, I was mentioning about the functions of pass 1 and pass 2, and we have discussed about what is the reason why do we need to go with two-pass assembler. So there was a reason behind opting the two-pass assembler is nothing but the forward references, because when you write a program, in the program you have the instructions wherein you can use the symbols which is defined later in the program. If you have the symbol which is used in the instruction, if it is defined later in the program, those references are called as the forward references. Because of the forward references, assembler is not able to assemble the instructions, or it is not able to uh, create the object code within a single pass. That's how we opt the two pass assembler. So in pass 1 of the two pass assembler, in pass 2 of the two pass assembler, what are the functions to be carried out that we have discussed in the previous session. So let us move on to how the two-pass assembler works. With the algorithm, we will be discussing about the working of two-pass assembler using pass-1 algorithm and pass-2 algorithm. Before going to the pass-1 algorithm, let us have a look on how the entire scenario is being portrayed with the diagram. The source program is given to the pass one, wherein it creates the symbol table. There are a few data structures which are used in the two-pass assembler. Those are op table, symbol table, and we have a variable called location counter. So the op table is a static table, wherein the symbol table is a dynamic table. The symbol table which is created in pass 1, which can be used in pass 2. An op table which gives you the information regarding the opcode, what we use in the program with the corresponding value. So this opcode we can use in the pass 2 again. Whenever you want to convert the mnemonic into the machine equivalent, therein we are using the op table. So from the pass 1, what you are getting from the assembler is nothing but the intermediate file. The intermediate file will be the input for the pass 2. So after the processing of pass 2, the assembler generates the object code. So this is the entire skeleton of how the assembler works, two-pass assembler works. So if you look at the data structures, we have the data structures code table, op table, it's nothing but op table, symbol table, symtep, and location counter, LOC, CTR. So again, we'll be discussing about these data structures after seeing the first algorithm, first one. If you look at this slide, you can see the pass one algorithm, how it works. Okay, so before moving on to this, let me give a brief about the data structures. As I already mentioned, what are the data structures? And if you look at the first data structure, that is the op table, operation code table, we can see the content of the op table is mnemonic. Mnemonic is nothing but operation code, what we use, say for example, LDA, STA, JSUB, all these are called as the mnemonic or operation code. What operation? So by seeing this opcode, we will make out what is the operations which we carried out in the particular instruction. As a programmer, you would like to do some operation by using this mnemonic and the machine code. The mnemonic followed by the machine code. So this informations are available in the op table, and this table is known as static table as there is no insertion and deletion happens. And to search the mnemonic or the opcode, we use the hash table, or we can go with the array. So using this implementation, we can search easily the machine mnemonic or the operation code. Let us have a view about the symbol table. The symbol table, which has the label name, that's nothing but the symbol name, and it has the value, then flag, and it has the type and length. So based on the symbol what we use, what is the type of the symbol, whether it is an absolute symbol or relative symbol, whether it is an absolute address or relative address, these informations would be available in the symbol table. And later we use the symbol table for referring the symbol which is not defined also, and we use the pointers to point to the node wherein the symbol value has to be inserted, so that we will keep using the symbol table in the near future in the different concepts as well. So this symbol table is a dynamic table where you can do the insertion and deletion, because whenever you find the symbol definition, so there will be a chance of adding the symbol into the symbol table. And same way like op table, we can also use the implementation part to search the key, search the symbol table, for which we can use hash table or the non-random keys, the hashing functions, by which you're able to search the symbols from the symbol table. So these are the data structure. And what is the purpose of the location counters? In order to keep track of the each instruction's address, we use the location counter. So we are going to use the location counter in the pass1 algorithm of 2-pass assembler. So let's go back to the pass1 algorithm. So if you look at the pass1 algorithm, wherein there are certain points which needs to be understood. Basically, the pass one of a 2-pass assembler, it processes the source program and it assigns address to the all the statements in the program. This is a major function which needs to be carried out by the assembler. So in order to assign the address for each and every statement in the program, the assembler should know that what is the starting address. That's how I think I have shown you the program, source program, where I have explained about the start, the end, and even the byte word, reserve byte, reserve word. So these are the assembler directives which are used in the assembly language program. And also these symbols in these assembler directive which were helped which were helped in the pass1 algorithm also, right? So how it is going to help for the assembler, that's what we are going to see now. So this, since it is an algorithm, we use begin and end, the keywords begin and end we use. And the first line, we read the first input line. So whenever the source program is given to the assembler, so assembler will scan entire program and it process. So that's where what it has to process, the functions of the pass1 we have already discussed. Same thing which will be carried out here. So it will read the first input line. If the opcode equal to start. So as we saw the program, the assembly language program, the first line itself, we could make out the program is starting with the opcode start. Okay. So if we have the opcode as start, then what the assembler will do is it will be saving hash operand. Hash operand is nothing but the content of the or the value of the operand. So as you know, in an instruction which has label, opcode and operand. So these are the fields which are available in the instruction. When you write any instruction, you can see there is a label, there is a opcode and there is a operand. Sometimes you may not see the label, sometimes you may not see the operand as well, but probably you would be always see the opcode. So opcode would be available. So if you have the operand, then save hash operand. Hash operand is nothing but value of the operand as starting address. If you recall the assembly language program, what we have discussed in the previous session, I have shown you the program as well, wherein you can make out that the start is followed by the value 1000. Hope remember those value 1000. So 1000 is available in the operand field that we consider as a starting address. So the assembler will assign the hash operand as a starting address, initialize location counter to starting address. So whatever the address mentioned in the start, the same thing will be assigned or initialized to location counter. As I have already mentioned, location counter is a variable which is used to keep track of the address of each and every instructions. As you know that the pass1 algorithm by itself, it does the uh, assigning of address to each and every instructions. So in that case, we have to understand the point that each and every instructions, when you move forward, then automatically the address has to be keep on changing. So to hold the address, we need to have a variable. That variable is nothing but the location counter. So the location counter is assigned with the starting address, say for example 1000. Then the next step would be write a line into the intermediate file. So for the pass to assembler, the intermediate file is the input. So for the pass1 assembler, the source file is the input. Okay, from the source file, which is given to the pass1, and from the pass1, we can get the intermediate file that will be the input for the pass2. So keep reading the next line. So read next input line. So we end the process. If suppose if there is no start symbol, so we don't find the start in the opcode field, then so the address is not mentioned by the programmer. So by default, the assembler will assume starting address as 0. So that is the reason if you look at the else part, if the opcode not equal to start, then obviously location counter will be initialized with the value 0. Then while opcode not equal to end. So till we reach the end of the program, as you know that end opcode that gives you, that is the end of the program. Till the assembler reaches the end of the program, it does the process. So what is the process it has to perform? That's what given in the latest steps. So while opcode not equal to end, do begin. If this is not the command line, so usually the command lines will be ignored. So a particular instruction which is not a command line, then that instruction has to be processed. So this is not the command line, then that needs to be processed. If there is a symbol in the label field, so as I told you already, in an instruction, it has the format of label, opcode, and operand. So in an instruction, if there is a symbol in the label field, then what needs to be done is, whenever you find the symbol in the label field which represent the symbol definition, as you remember the symbol called RETADR, I have shown you in the previous program. So we were discussing how the conversion is happening for the line STL RETADR. That time I have mentioned that RETADR is a symbol which is defined in the location 1033 I was mentioning. So based on which only the assembler is converting the source into object code by considering the opcode and also considering the operand. So the operand address, which we get it from the symbol definition. So if there is a label symbol in the label field, then obviously those information has to be added into the symbol table. So in pass1, the symbol table will be created. Inside the symbol table, already I have shown you the structure of the symbol table, which has the symbol and the value. So the symbol is nothing but what is the name of the symbol. The value is nothing but in which address the symbol is defined. So before adding this one more condition we need to perform, that is searching the symbol table for the label. Why the assembler has to do this particular condition is, has to check the condition is, if there is an entry for the same label, then there is no need of keeping one more entry over there. So the duplication should be avoided, for which what the assembler has to do is, it has to search the symbol table for the label. If it is found, then it sets the error flag saying that it's a duplicate symbol. So sometimes when you run a program, you might get the same variable you declared twice. So it will be saying multiple declaration, duplicate symbol. So such kind of error you will be getting. So this is one way how the assembler generates the error code. So when assembler does its process, basically while assembly or during the compilation, it checks the entire program and say whether there is any error or not. Okay, so during this process it will be displaying the error message saying that duplicate symbol. If not, if suppose the label is not available in the symbol table already, then it will check for the else part, insert label comma location counter value. So the location counter value keeps changing. So for that particular instruction, what is the address? As you remember, we were discussing about the source code, wherein the address like 1000, 1003, 1006, 1009. I was keep on telling the address of each and every instruction. So when you process when the assembler is processing any particular instruction, what is the address of that instruction, which is mentioned by the location counter. So that's how the label with the location counter value will be inserted into the symbol table. Okay. So this is one part. So in this place, symbol table will be created, and when there is a symbol in the label field, automatically the entry will be added into the symbol table. Now, moving on to the next step. So herein, search optable for opcode. As I have already told you that in the instructions, especially the opcode part, it is so important, because the opcode will decide whether it is a proper instruction or not. Okay, whether it belongs to SAC instructions, SAC or SAC, whatever it is. So whether it has the instruction set from any one of this machine architecture. Okay, so search the opcode for optable for opcode. So what happens here is, if you found the opcode from the optable, which means that whatever the symbol, whatever the opcode which the programmer has used in the instruction is right, because it belongs to the op table, because the op table has set of instruction set we have. What are the mnemonics, the corresponding value, all this information is available in the op table, as I have already mentioned. I've shown you the structure of the op table also. The op table content, what is the mnemonic? That is nothing but the operation code and the corresponding mnemonic machine code value, machine equivalent also. Okay, so if the operation code which is there available in the op table, then the programmer has used the proper instruction. Okay, so if it is found, search op table for opcode. If it is found, then the location counter, which I told you, that keeps changing, the value keeps changing. So when you move to the next instruction, obviously what is the previous instruction and what is the storage for the previous instruction, based on that the address of the next instruction will be decided. Say for example, I have shown you in the previous programs. Let us say, I'll just go back to the previous slide where we saw the program. Let us consider line number 10. Okay, so in the line number 10, the location counter which gives you the value 1000 for the line number 10, because this assembler is in the particular instruction which is scanning or reading this particular instruction. When it is reading the instruction, the location counter value is 1000. Now, when you look at the opcode STL, so STL, it will be searching the op table. Definitely STL would be available because it's a proper instruction set which is there in the SAC machine. So obviously the STL will be found in the op table. So if it is found, which means that this is the proper instruction. So in SAC machine, so the instruction format has 3 bytes of storage. So what we do is the assembler will be adding the 3 bytes to the existing value which is there in the location counter. That's nothing but 1000. So with the 1000, when the assembler is adding the value 3, so it becomes 1003. So now the location counter value becomes 1003, that is assigned for the next instruction, that is in the line number 15. Hope this is understood. Now this is one part. Now we move on to the next part, that is else if the opcode is equal to word. So when the opcode is equal to word, then add 3 to the location counter. So as I already told you that if the opcode is equal to word, which means the word is an assembler directive which is used to generate the integer constant. So whenever the constant, integer constant needs to be assigned to the symbol, there we can use the word, assembler directive word. So if you find the assembler directive word in the opcode field, then add 3 to the location counter. As similar to the previous case, same thing we do here also. Now else, if opcode is equal to reserve word. So as I have told you that, I'll just go back to the previous slide, the program slide, wherein I think I can refer the line number 95. Okay, so when the assembler reaches the line number 95, the location counter value will be 1033. Now in the opcode field, there is a assembler directory called reserve word, and in the operand field it has the value 1. So what happens in this particular case is, since it is a reserve word and 1, so one single word, so one single word is nothing but 1 into 3 bytes. One single word is nothing but 3 bytes. So since it is having the value 1, so 1 into 3 bytes. Suppose instead of 1, if it has the value 2 in the operand field, then 2 into 3 bytes. If it has 3, then 3 into 3 bytes. That is how the location counter value will be changed based on the value which is available in the operand field. Now, if you see the algorithm, if opcode equal to reserve word, then add 3 into hash operand. So the location counter will be incremented by having 3 into hash operand. So hash operand, if it has the value 1, so 3 into 1, 3. If it has the value 2, then 3 into 2, 6. If it has the value 3, then 3 into 3, 9. So 9 bytes will be added with the location counter. So this is in the case of reserve word. Suppose if the opcode is equal to reserve byte. So in the case of reserve byte, it reserve number of bytes. So how many bytes it's mentioned there, the same number of bytes will be added to the location counter. So if you look at here, if opcode equal to reserve byte, then add hash operand. In the hash operand, if we have the value 100, then 100 bytes will be added to the location counter. If you have the value 10, then 10 bytes will be added to the location counter. So based on the operand value, the same number of bytes will be added to the location counter. The next step, next case is if the opcode is equal to byte. So in that case, let me show the same program. Just refer the line number 80. So here the opcode is equal to byte. And what is the operand we have? The character C, then E, O, F. So there are 3 characters. So how many number of characters we have? 3 characters we have. And what is the length of each character? Each character takes one byte. So there are 3 bytes. Okay, so since each character takes 8 bits, 8 bits are nothing but 1 byte. So there are 3 characters. We have E, O, F, and 3 character will take 3 bytes. That is the reason 3 bytes will be added with the location counter. That is the same thing which is mentioned in the algorithm as well. So if the opcode is equal to byte, then begin find length of constant in byte. So what is the length of the constant? So character constant is EOF. So what is the length of that constant? 1, 2, 3. So 3 is the length. Now add length to the location counter. So 3 characters are there, 3 bytes actually. So 3 bytes are added to the location counter. So how the assembler is assigning address to each and every instruction. Whatever I have already explained to you that how each instruction is being assigned with the address. I have shown you with the example, the same thing step-by-step procedure which is given in the algorithm. So which needs to be carried out by the assembler when it assigns the address to all the statements in the program in passcode. So this is the first step need to be done by the assembler actually. So if there is a opcode, there is a mnemonic, there is a word, there is a byte, there is a reserve word or reserve byte, what needs to be done and how many bytes to be added with the existing value of the location counter. That is what exactly given in the algorithm. Once it is done, coming to the else part, if any of these conditions are not satisfied, then it will fall into the else part. So in the else part, what we have in the algorithm is set error flags saying that invalid operation code. So the opcode can be mnemonic from the optable, or else it can be a word, or it can be a byte, or it is a reserve word, or it is a reserve byte. So any one of this has to be there in the instruction. If not, if it is not falling under any of this category, obviously that is a improper statement. So that is an improper instruction. That is how in the else case, the information is given as invalid operation code. So saying that error flag, setting the error flag and saying that invalid operation code. That is the end of that part. And as soon as that line is scanned, write line to the intermediate. So whatever the lines are available in the source file, same lines will be there in the intermediate file also. That is the reason if you look at the algorithm, in each and every step, whatever the lines, the input lines are being read by the assembler, the same thing which is written into the intermediate file by the assembler in the pass one. Then it reads the next input line, ending the loop. So once you reach, the assembler reaches the end of the program, it stops. It is ending the process. Finally, then it writes a last line to the intermediate file. That's nothing but the end of the program, end opcode. Then it will be saving the location counter minus starting address. When it reaches the end of the program, obviously there is a address for that end of the program. That is, the value will be available in the location counter. If you subtract that value with the starting address, that gives you the program length. So what is the end address and minus the starting address, that gives you how much length of the program. So which is considered as the program length. So with this, the assembler ends the pass one. So in the pass one, what the assembler does is, it is actually creating the intermediate file from the pass one process from the algorithm, and it creates the symbol table, which is the most important thing, which will be used in the actually in the pass 2 also. So for the pass 2, intermediate file is the input. So as you know that the assembler, which is basically for converting source program into object program. So the object code needs to be created in the assembler. So in the pass 1 and pass 2, the why these two steps are required is, it has to create the object code. In order to get the address of that particular symbol, it needs to do the two passes, pass 1 and pass 2. So in pass 1, it assigns the address. In pass 2, actual assembly process will be carried out. So when it is performing the assembly process, what happens here is, that is given in the next slide. So this is the pass 2 algorithm. Before moving on to the pass 2 algorithm, as you know that the pass 2, in the pass 2, the assembly process happens and the object code is generated. So when the object code is generated by the assembler, it has to create the program, right? Actually, object program has to be there. So the object program contains the object code. Okay, so when it creates the object program, it has to follow certain formats how the object program has to be, right? So there is a structure for the object program. So what is the structure and what are the content of the object program? How the assembler does the pass to operation and the pass to functions, and it creates the object program that we'll see in the